Hi, this is video lecture 16.3 on America Goes to War in Europe. After Pearl Harbor, Roosevelt and Churchill decided they needed to meet to talk about America's role and involvement in the European theater. So on December 22nd, 1941, they met at the White House. Over a course of a couple of days, they made two major decisions. The first is that they were going to focus on Hitler first. That Great Britain and the United States would focus on defeating Hitler first, and then the United States could turn its attention towards Japan and the Pacific Theater. The second decision, knowing that Hitler broke the non-aggression pact with Stalin, and that he invaded the Soviet Union in June of 1941, Roosevelt and Churchill decided they needed to open up a second front that would divide the German military. One of the obstacles, though, was that Germany controlled the Atlantic. In our Battle of the Atlantic, the German U-boats dominated the Atlantic, sinking by July of 1942 over 681 merchant ships. The United States wanted to supply, obviously, Great Britain and get our supplies over to our troops. And the Germans felt that if they cut the British supply lines, Great Britain would be unable to fight in the war. And so America's involvement and their role was going to become even more important. The Americans employed a technique or a tactic called convoys. What they would do is they would have these merchant ships traveling, but they would surround these merchant ships with British and American destroyer ships. And these ships, these destroyers, were equipped with sonar that would be sent down into the depths of the ocean, and they could detect U-boats. They also equipped airplanes that flew overhead with sonar as well, that they could detect these U-boats. And so by the end of 1942 and the beginning of 1943, the tide of the Battle of Atlantic began to shift in favor of the Allied powers. It was also during this time the United States employed a crash shipbuilding program. And we say crash in quote, meaning it was fast. It was like a crash course in shipbuilding. And so the United States began building these ships. And by 1943, they were producing over 140 ships a month. Okay, we're talking a lot of ships. And with that, with America's involvement with their shipbuilding program, the United States was going to be officially involved in the European theater. Tomorrow in class, we're going to take a look at some of the major battles that took place in Europe that involved both the Soviet Union and the United States.